Hello fellow birdwatchers. Welcome to Wellington Point Recreation Reserve. It's just over half an hour drive from Brisbane CBD. It's one of my favourite beach bird walks. We've got a lot of ground to cover, a lot of birds to find, and we're even going to walk out to that island over there. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start with a quick run through. Note that it's currently high tide. Start in at the entrance car park, at the back on the right. We'll then explore the middle of the reserve. We'll follow the path around the shoreline. After this, we'll head to the jetty on the far end. Then we'll head over to the other side of the reserve for low tide. By that time, this path here will be accessible. There'll be plenty of birds to see along the way. And we'll finish up at King Island. Okay, time to get started. Let's find some birds. Okay, out there is the path to King Island, which is only swimmable at the moment. Here's our first bird for today. It's a masked lapwing, commonly known as the plover. This one is incredibly tame. Normally, if you get closer than 50 meters, they'll go nuts with their alarm call. You might think this section is just a picnic ground. There couldn't be any birds here. Well, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Because the tide's up, birds often hang around the edges here. I can see one now. Here we have one of our egrets trying to catch a small fish. It's the little egret. It's hard to gauge the size when it's by itself. The trait that separates the little egret from the other egrets is this species' bill and legs are both black. Here are the stairs to the King Island walk. We'll come back later. It's a nice clear day today. There's some ibis. Can you hear that melodic call in the background? There must be a few pied currawongs in the park, which is a bit strange because normally they prefer forest and woodlands. Anyway, I see a bird-shaped lump in this pine tree. It's an Australian hobby. A hobby is a small falcon. Their diet consists of large insects and small birds like lorikeets, honeyeaters, and even doves. Obviously, the noisy miners don't know it's here. Let's keep it that way. I hear a bit of commotion down by the wall. These silver gulls have surrounded this hard-working Australian ibis. The ibis is digging up crustaceans and invertebrates. So gulls don't just steal chips from people, they also hang around fellow birds to take advantage of any food that they've missed. There goes one piece. And it got one. Ooh, a bit aggressive. Let's make our way into the reserve. This section's pretty much a picnic ground, but there's still plenty of birds. Some families left their morning tea unattended. Let's see what this brush turkey's looking for. This species usually eats insects, seeds, and fallen fruits. I don't think instant noodles are a good part of its diet. I wonder where the family is. Oh well. Can you hear that? Wah! Those are Australasian fig birds. Oh no, the lower part of this pied butcherbird's beak is broken. This can happen when they collide with windows or cars. Sometimes when people feed birds so much that the birds are practically living on a human diet, it can cause the birds to have mineral deficiencies, which can make the birds susceptible to bone and beak breakages. These shrubs in front of the toilets attract many nectar-feeding birds. Unfortunately, getting a view is tricky because people seeing someone with binoculars or a telephoto lens pointed towards the toilet is not a good look. Don't worry, for this footage I've jumped around to the other side so I'm facing away from the block. Anyway, this is a rainbow lorikeet. They're loving the nectar from this New Zealand Christmas tree. There it goes. Let's head back to the main path now. There's a group of birds out on the rocks. Let's have a look. Okay, black and white with a yellow bill and no facial markings. These are little pied cormorants. Gee, there's quite a few of them. Close by, we have our first tern. These have a solid black cap and bill, so they're Australian terns. With terns, it's quite difficult to ID down to the species level. I recommend taking a photo and then using a field guide to find out which one you have. And we're continuing on towards the jetty. Here it is, but we're going to check out this boat ramp first. It often has a few water birds. We met this species at our previous walk at the airport. It's the Australian pelican. They mostly eat fish, but they've even been reported swallowing silver gulls, great eel, large reptiles, and there's even reports of small dogs, but I don't believe that. Regardless of whether that's true, they must have a really strong throat and stomach to be able to catch and swallow that stuff. Okay, let's head to the end of the jetty. As you can see, this is a popular fishing spot. Sometimes you get egrets and cormorants waiting alongside the people that are fishing so they can snag a free meal. Now there's a bird out on that red sign. This one looks similar to the earlier cormorants. Notice how it has facial markings and the bill isn't yellow? This means that it's a pied cormorant. A big pied cormorant, not a little one. I must say, it's really good at balancing on one leg. Okay, let's head back to the starting point. Let's see what it looks like when the tide's low. Okay, it looks a bit different now. Let's go. If you want to do this walk, I recommend you check the tides before you head out. You only get 2 low tides per day, and you generally get about a 3-hour window per low tide. The walk takes about an hour return at a relaxed pace. The path is accessible when the tide is lower than 1.2 meters. If you don't time it right, you'll have to swim back. This freshly exposed mud exposes a lot of insects and crustaceans. The shorebirds love it. Like this species, we saw them at our last walk. These are pied stilt. It was originally believed that pied stilts stayed around the same area throughout the year. But recent work by the Queensland Wader Study Group found they tend to leave the local area and just disappear for parts of the year. Research is still in the works to find out where they're actually going. And over here we have 2 whimbrels. Around March, they'll fly up north all the way to the Arctic just for breeding season. Then in August, they'll fly back to the southern hemisphere. I haven't seen one of these for a while. It's a red-capped plover. You might be thinking, plover, isn't that swoopy bird with the yellow bits that goes ee? Plover is actually referring to the family name. The masked lapwing is in the same family, but it's kind of like a distant cousin of the smaller plovers like this one. Missing you, or peekaboo. Those are the calls of the pied butcherbird. They can project their calls really far. They're most likely singing from the trees in the park. We saw silver gulls earlier stealing a meal from the ibis. Well, this one's foraging for itself. If you look closely, you'll see that they have a few tricks to find food. See how this one's stomping in the mud? This brings tasty critters to the surface. That bird honking away is a white-bellied sea eagle. It must be pretty far because I have no idea where it's calling from. I see some birds off in the distance on the left. We have our next tern, the greater crested tern. They have a yellow beak that sometimes has a tinge of green. They are often confused with the lesser crested tern that also have a yellow beak, but they're about 30% smaller. Lesser cresteds are less common here. I think differentiating these is pretty difficult when they're by themselves. Let's have another look on the mudflat. Who's this scurrying along the rocks? Nice. It's some double-banded plovers. The one with that reddish-brown band is in breeding plumage. This is the only plover species where many individuals will fly to New Zealand for the breeding season and return to Australian coast once the season ends. Up next, we have a species with a logical name, the white-faced heron. There's at least 20 out here today, but they're really spread out. They prefer hunting solo. You might recognize this one. It's the pied oystercatcher. Notice that band on its leg? This is for research purposes. Across most of the world, shorebird research groups place different coloured tags on the upper and lower legs of shorebirds. This is to indicate where they're from. For example, this one has a green upper tag and no lower flag, so it's from Queensland. So next time you see a banded shorebird, make note of the flags. You can look up the colour combinations online, or you can contact your local wader study group. If you want to get into shorebird spotting, knowing the tides really helps. As the tide rises, shorebirds are pushed closer to the shore. But if it's too high, they won't stay on the beach. It's too close to people and possible predators. When the tide's low or out, the birds will be much further away from the shore and spread out as well, which means a lot more walk-in for us bird watchers. For most sites, it's best to aim for a mid-tide that's coming in. Oh, this next bird's really far away. Here's yet another species of tern. So a red bill with a black dot near the tip, that means it's a Caspian tern. The name Caspian refers to the Caspian Sea, which is the main breeding ground for the Caspian terns that live in the Northern Hemisphere. We made it to King Island. What birds will we find here? I can hear a few different species already. Can you hear that bark-like call? Eek, eek, eek. Eek, eek. That can only be one kingfisher. It's the Tahitian kingfisher, previously known as the collared kingfisher. They're a mangrove specialist, so you'll rarely see them anywhere else. They have a much chunkier beak than the other kingfishers. From the Tahitian kingfisher to the crow. The word Tahitian refers to the stretch of sea at the very top of Queensland, beyond Cape York. You may be familiar with the Torres Strait. Well, birds with Tahitian in their name mostly live along the northern edges of Australia and the southern edges of Papua New Guinea. Okay, that's a good start. But there's got to be more birds on this island. Who's up here? This species looks a bit like a yellow-faced honeyeater. It's the mangrove honeyeater. They have a really beautiful song. You might be able to hear some of its friends in the background. We've got someone else hiding in this same patch. Striated herons are normally on the mudflat, hunting for fish along the water's edge. You don't see them too often up in trees during the day. We're approaching the outer edge of the island now. This island's really going off species-wise today. Say hello to two striped honeyeaters. Being honeyeaters, they do eat plant nectar. However, this species' diet mostly consists of insects, larvae, and spiders. This is another bird you usually hear but don't see. We're out on the other side now. These mangrove trees in the distance are home to a lot of wildlife, including birds. So if you take your dog with you, please keep it on a lead. This is the scarlet honeyeater, also known internationally as the scarlet misamella. For such a small bird, they can really belt out that song. We've got another beautiful singer here. It's the mangrove gerygone. Gerygone is often mispronounced as gerygone or jerrygone. Whatever way you pronounce it, it doesn't really matter, as long as both parties know that they're talking about this grey bird. Looks like we can't go much further. And the tide says, you may not pass. The total number of bird species found today was 40. That's pretty good for a coastal walk. Check out the video description for the eBird checklist. I've also included a link to help with Shorebird ID, so check them out. Well, I spent a bit too much time on the island filming just now, so I better get back before the tide comes in. Thanks for joining me at Wellington Point and King Island. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about birds or any comments, please let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, and happy bird watching. Bye.